AI History Reanimated Original. In today's episode, Alexander the Great, the history brought to life by AI. Please subscribe and activate the bell to be the first to receive our videos, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. On a stormy night in 356 before Christ in the city of Pella, was born he who would become the greatest conqueror in human history.
Alexander, the future great.
The Oracle of Delphi pronounced a prophecy that would echo through the centuries. This boy will conquer the known world. From childhood, Alexander demonstrated an insatiable thirst for glory and military skill that impressed even the most experienced generals. When no tamer could control the legendary Bucephalus, Alexander realized the horse feared its own shadow.
A legendary partnership was born to conquer the world.
See how
Under
the known
Aristotle's
world
tutelage,
extends beyond
Alexander
our common
absorbed not only
understanding.
military tactics, but also philosophy, medicine, literature, and the secrets of the known world. During celebrations of his daughter's wedding, King Philip II was brutally assassinated by his own guard, changing the destiny of history. At 20 years old, Alexander assumed the throne of Macedonia, inheriting not only a kingdom but his father's dream of conquering the Persian Empire.
Long live the king.
Before dreaming of distant conquests, Alexander had to prove his authority by brutally crushing the revolt of Thebes as an example to all of Greece. Alexander swore to avenge the Persian invasion of 150 years before, transforming a mission of revenge into a campaign of world conquest.
We swear our fealty to you, Alexander.
In the spring of 334 BC, Alexander crossed the Hellespont with 35,000 men, beginning a journey that would forever change the ancient world.
Soldiers, we stand upon the threshold of a new world.
At the Granicus River, Alexander faced his first great test against the Persian satraps, a battle that would set the tone for the entire Asian campaign. In the Battle of Granicus, Alexander nearly lost his life, but his personal courage and superior tactics resulted in a decisive victory over
Asia
the
Minor
Persians.
was open for conquest.
In the Greek cities of Asia Minor, Alexander was received as liberator, but his true intention was to create an empire that would blend East and West. In Gordium, Alexander faced the legendary knot that, according to prophecy, would only be untied by he destined to rule all Asia.
It is done. The Gordian knot is cut.
Darius III, lord of 20 million subjects, finally understood that Alexander was not just another Greek rebel, but an existential threat to his millennial
Let every
empire.
able-bodied man be ready to march.
At Issus, Darius assembled 600,000 men, the largest army in antiquity, determined to crush the young Macedonian pretender once and for all. Outnumbered 17-1, Alexander knew that only
Their
tactical
numbers are
genius and
overwhelming.
his men's courage could achieve the
Patience,
impossible
my
victory.
friends. David was ready to face Goliath on the field of Issus.
At Issus, Alexander executed one of the most audacious maneuvers in military history, attacking directly at the center where Darius personally commanded. Seeing Alexander approach, Darius abandoned his army, his family, and his dignity, fleeing in total panic, a moment that would echo through eternity. Alexander treated the Persian royal family with honor and respect,
You have nothing to
winning
fear
the
from me.
loyalty of the Queen Mother,
We
who would
understand,
call him
Great
son
King.
until her death.
We come in peace, not as conquerors, but as friends.
Refusing peace offered by Darius, Alexander marched to Egypt, determined to conquer all Persian territories before the final confrontation. The Egyptians, oppressed by Persians for 2 centuries, received Alexander as liberator and legitimate pharaoh, son of the gods. Alexander risked his life crossing the desert to consult the oracle of Amun-Ra, seeking divine confirmation of his mission.
I must reach the oracle.
The oracle of Ammon revealed to Alexander that he was son of Zeus, not Philip, a revelation that would transform his self-image and ambitions. In
Build the
Nile
harbor
Delta,
here,
Alexander
the library
founded
on this
Alexandria,
rise, and the
destined to become
lighthouse
the
on that
greatest
far
center of
point.
knowledge in the ancient world.
A city that would preserve human knowledge for 1,000 years was being created.
Darius
They offer
offered
you
half his
their
empire, mountains of
immense
gold and his
treasure,
daughter's hand.
and a royal
But
marriage.
Alexander had dreams bigger than any agreement.
This means total war.
Alexander marched through Mesopotamia toward Gaugamela, where Darius had chosen the perfect field for a decisive battle. At Gaugamela, Darius assembled 1 million warriors from throughout his empire, the last desperate gamble to crush Alexander. The night before the decisive battle, Alexander spent hours with his men,
Make sure everything is
knowing
ready
they
for
would
tomorrow's
face the most
march.
impossible odds of their lives.
Guide me. Give me strength for this final test as son of.
On October 1st, 331 BC, on the plain of Gaugamela, the future of civilization would be decided in antiquity's greatest battle.
For glory, for destiny, for history. Charge!
Persian war elephants attacked like living mountains, but Macedonian phalanxes maintained iron discipline even facing terror.
Superior tactics defeats brute force. The first phase of the decisive battle belonged to Alexander.
Alexander executed his favorite tactic, the wedge cavalry charge that split enemy armies like divine lightning.
The Macedonian wedge had worked perfectly once again. The Persian center was broken.
At Gaugamela's center, Alexander and Darius faced each other personally, young conqueror against ancient emperor, future against past. For the second time, Darius fled before Alexander, but this time he knew his 2-century empire had come to an end.
The Lord of Asia had been definitively born.
In Babylon, Alexander was received as liberator by inhabitants who had suffered under Persian rule for 2 centuries.
All hail Alexander, King of Babylon.
At Susa, Alexander captured the greatest treasure in history, 40,000 talents of gold and silver, enough to finance armies for decades.
This is more than treasure. This is human civilization.
At Persepolis, Alexander faced the heart
Look
of
at this
Persian
place.
power, the ceremonial capital that had dominated the world for 2
Unbelievable.
centuries. Alexander pursued Darius relentlessly across the Persian Empire, determined to capture the great king and end the war definitively. Alexander found Darius dying, assassinated by his own governors. The great king's last words, "Thank the gods someone worthy defeated me." At 25 years old, Alexander ruled an empire stretching from Greece to India, the largest dominion ever controlled by a single man.
One young man had unified East and West under a single crown.
Alexander began adopting Persian customs and dress, believing fusion of cultures would create stronger empire than domination alone. Alexander's Macedonian veterans, who had followed him across the world, rebelled against his adoption of barbarian Persian ways.
I promise to honor our Macedonian traditions as we build a new world together.
At Susa, Alexander organized mass weddings between 10,000 Macedonian soldiers and Persian women, attempting to create new mixed race to rule his
Alexander,
empire.
take you, Statera.
I, Statera, take you, Alexander.
Not
What lies
satisfied
beyond
with Persian
these
Empire,
mountains?
Alexander dreamed
Legends
of
speak
conquering
of
India
elephants,
and
vast
reaching the
rivers,
ocean that
and
Greeks
cities of
believed
gold.
encircled the world.
The very edge of the world was summoning him.
Crossing the Hindu Kush,
Hold your
Alexander
ground.
led his exhausted
We press
army
on.
through some of Earth's most treacherous terrain toward the mysterious subcontinent of India.
Look, this land, it is unlike anything we have seen.
A new world opens before us.
At the Hydaspes River, Alexander faced King Porus and the most fearsome war elephants ever deployed in battle.
Alexander's tactical genius once again defeats brute force.
When asked
How
how
do
he
you wish
wished
to be treated, King Porus?
the captured King Porus replied,
As a king.
"Like a king." Alexander, impressed by his dignity, restored his kingdom.
Our courage will endure through the ages.
After 8 years of
You have
conquest,
marched with me.
Alexander's
fought with
soldiers
me for
finally
8 long
refused to march
years.
further into India's unknown dangers, longing for home and family. Accepting his soldiers' limits, Alexander began the long journey home, exploring new routes and founding cities along the way.
I have conquered the known world, but I dream of lands beyond.
Leading his
press
army
on,
through the Gedrosian
for
desert,
glory
Alexander
awaits.
nearly lost everything in one of military history's greatest disasters.
There is no water for me when others have none.
Returning
Treachery
from
will
India,
not be tolerated.
Alexander found many of his governors
Justice
had
shall
become
be
corrupt
swift
or
and
rebellious,
absolute for those who
requiring
defy
harsh
the
measures
crown.
to restore order.
To rule a vast empire demands constant vigilance. Ambition and weakness lurk in every shadow.
The death of Hephaestion, Alexander's dearest friend and possible lover, devastated the conqueror more than any battlefield defeat. Alexander gave
By my
Hephaestion
decree,
divine honors and funeral
let
rites,
Hephaestion be
surpassing
forever
those of
honored
Persian kings,
as a divine
shocking Greek
hero.
sensibilities, but revealing depth of his loss. Even in grief, Alexander planned new conquests.
Despite this
Arabia,
grief,
the Western Mediterranean,
our ambition
perhaps
drives
even
us
lands
forward.
beyond the Great Ocean. At a banquet in Babylon, Alexander drank heavily in grief and exhaustion, his body finally showing strain of lifetimes spent in conquest.
No, I feel a terrible pain.
For 13 days, Alexander fought his final battle against fever and illness, his body finally succumbing to years of wounds and strain. As Alexander lay dying without clear succession plans, his generals began the power struggle that would tear apart his empire.
For the strongest.
Alexander's final words remain mysterious. Some say to the strongest, others claim he wanted his empire to go to the most worthy.
Alexander.
On June 10th, 323 BC, Alexander died in Babylon at age 32.
We regret to inform you of the
having
passing
conquered
of
most of
Alexander.
the known world in just 13 years. Though his empire fractured immediately after death, Alexander's true legacy lived on. The fusion of East and West that shaped civilization for millennia. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Let us know in the comments which story you'd like to see in the next episode. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our new videos. See you next time.